Welcome, and let's look at the first rule of Surds. Now, root of A multiplied with the root of B equals root of A, B. Root of A times root of B equals root of AB. And the second rule is root of A times root of A will give us A. Let's have an example. When you're given a surd of root 50, how do you express this in terms of surd? Now you have to create two numbers from this root of 50. The first one has to be a number whose square root you can get. And then the second one has to be any other number with a root sign. When we look at 50, we can come up with two numbers. One, we can be able to find the square root, and the second is a number whose square root we cannot be able to find. So let's come up with these two numbers. The first one will be root 25 times root 2. Now when we multiply 2 times 25 will give us 50. Now when we express this number like this, we can be able to, when we look at 25, we can be able to find the root of 25, and the root of 25 is 5. And then multiplied by root 2, that will be the same as 2. So root of 50 expressed as surd will be 5 root 2. Let's look at another example. Root of 45. How do you express this in terms of surd? Root of 45. We come up with two numbers. One has to the first one has to be a number whose square root we can be able to find, and the second one can just be the square root of any other number. So looking at 45, we can come up with root of 9. And then we multiply this with root of 5. So that we have 5 times 9 will give us 45. Now we can be able to find the square root of 9. Which square root of 9 is 3. 3 times root of 5 will be 3 root 5. So root 45 expressed as a surd will be root 3 root 5. Let's look at if we have multiple numbers. Now, assuming we are given a number root of 90 times the root of 20, express this as a surd. From root 90, we have to come with two numbers. One has to be a number whose square root we can find. The same thing to 20. So looking at 90, we can come here with 9. Root of 9 times root of 10. So we have 10 times 9 will be 90. We multiply this with, from 20, we can have root of 4, because we can be able to get the square root of 4, and then root of 5. So that 5 times 4 will give us 20. Now we get the square root of 9, that will be 3 root, this root 10, times the square root of 4 will be 2 root of 5. Now from the first rule, when you have two different square root of different numbers, like here, what do? We multiply them. So we multiply the whole numbers with the whole number and the square root with the square root. So 3 times 2, that will be 6. Root of 10 times 5, that will be 50. Now we express this also as a surd. How do you express 50 as a surd? We have to come up with two numbers. One has to be one whose square root sign we can find, and another has to be any other number with a square root. So from here we are going to have 6 root of, we can come up with two numbers. We can come up with 25 times root of 2. So that we have 2 times 25 will give us 50. Now we can be able to find the square root of 25. So that we have 6 times the square root of 25 will be 5 times root of 2. Then we multiply these whole numbers. 6 times 5, that will be 30 root of 2. So our final answer, this number expressed as a surd, will be 30 root of 2. Now let's look at how we can divide surds. We looked at multiplication, let's look at how we can divide. Now all these square root, we have to make sure we express them as surds. Let's first start by expressing 60 as a surd. So we have to come up with two numbers. two numbers. The first one has to be a number whose square root sign we can find, and from 60 we can have root of 4 times root of 15. So that 15 times 4 will give us 60. Times from 20 we can have root of 4 times root of 5. So that 5 times 4 will give us 20. Let's come and look at 12. From 12 we can have root of 4 times root of 3. So that 3 times 4 will give us 12. Now we find the square root of 4. That will be 2 root 15 times square root of 4 is 2 root 5 out of root of 4, that will be 2 root of 3. Now up we can be able to multiply this, the first rule. When you have a different square root, you multiply them together. So from that will be 4 root of 15 times 5, that will be 75 over 2 root 3. We have that number like that. Now we have to come up with a number where you cannot be able to find the square root anymore, just like these 3. But 75, we can still be able to generate numbers from 75 whose square root we can be able to find. So let's come up with two numbers out of 75, at least with one whose square root we can be able to find. We keep 4. So we have 4 times the first number we come up with is 25 times root of 3. So that we have 3 times 25 will give us 75. All this over 2 root 3. Now we find the square root of 25. So that we have 4 times 5 root 3 out of 2 root 3. Now we multiply these two whole numbers. 4 times 5 will give us 20 root 3 out of 2 root 3. Now we have two common numbers here. We have root 3 and root 3 can be able to cancel because the same thing up is the same thing down. And then we can also be able to divide by 2, 1. 20 by 2 will go 10. So that we have 10 over 1 as the final answer will be 10. Now let's look at how we can add surds. We looked at multiplication, we looked at division. Now let's see how we can add surds. We are given a number root 12 plus root 27. We express this as a surd. We come up with two numbers whose square, the first one has to be a number whose square root sign we can be able to find. The same thing with this one. So from here we can come up with root 4 times root 3. So that 3 times 4 will give us this 12. Then plus root of 9 times root of 3 times root of 3. So that we have 3 times 9. That will give us 27. Now we find the square root of 4, which is 2 root 3. Plus the square root of 9 will be 3 root 3. Root 3 and root 3 is the same thing. So we just add the numbers which are before the square root signs. So 2 plus 3 will give us 5 root 3 as our final answer. Now let's look at how we can subtract surds. We are given numbers here, let's subtract them. Let's come up with two numbers from 63 that we can be able, with 1 whose square root sign we can be able to find. And from here we can come up with root 9 times root 7. So that 7 times 9 will give us 63. And minus root of 4 times root of 7. So that 7 times 4 will give us 28. We find the square root sign, the square root of 9, that will be 3. We bring this root 7 minus the square root of 4 is 2. We bring this root 7. The root 7s are the same. So we go ahead, just like an addition, we go ahead and subtract the 2. 3 minus 2, that will give us 1 root 7. Instead of writing 1 root 7, we can simply write it as final answer will be root 7. Now let's look at rationalizing the denominator. Now when we are dealing with rationalizing the denominator, what we mean is we want a number can be given 2 out of 3. What we want is remove this number with the square root sign from down. Make sure the last number you have here is a whole number. So make sure you remove this square root sign from down so that you can leave 3 alone, or any other number for that case. So how do you rationalize, or how do we remove this square root sign from down? This is the number 1 rule. You multiply this number with square root sign. You multiply down here, and what you do down, you do exactly up. Now this is what I mean. So in this case, we are going to have 2 over root 3 times root 3, even up. We're going to multiply with the same thing we did here, root 3. So that we are going to have 2 times root 3 will be 2 root 3 over root 3 times root 3. The second rule we saw, when you have the same root, it becomes just one number. So root 3 times root 3 will give us 3 alone. And let's look at the second number. We are given a number 5 over 3 minus root 2 in the denominator. Now let's see how we can remove this negative root 2 from down here. Now when you're given a number like this with a sign in the middle, for you to be able to rationalize the denominator, you have to make sure you get the opposite of this sign. Get the opposite of this sign, multiply down here, and multiply the same opposite up. So that we are going to have 5 over, this time we put them in bracket, 3 minus root 2. We get the opposite of this negative, which will be positive. So this time we're going to have 3 plus root 2. Now what we do down here, we do up. So we multiply this same with 3 plus root 2. So that we are going to multiply out now. 5 times 3, that will be 15. Plus 5 times root 2, that will be 5 root 2. The whole of this under 3 times 3, that will be 9. Plus 3 times root 2 will be 3 root 2. We come to the second number. Minus root 2 times 3 will give us 3 root 2. Negative root 2 times positive root 2 will give us, I said the negative will always be a stronger sign. So if we are multiplying a negative times a positive, the resulting answer will always be negative. So that, and multiply root 2 times root 2 will give us only 1, 2. So in that case, we are going to have 2. Positive 3 root 2 minus 3 root 2, this will be 0. So we are going to have 15 plus 5 root 2 out of, now we are going to have 9 minus these 2 only remaining. So 9 minus 2 will be 7. As you can see, this is the least we can be able to rationalize, and there is no other number which has there is no other number in the denominator which has a root sign. So in this case, this is the final answer for this question.